and welcome to another edition of the Umoja Circle. As always, we try here at the Umoja Circle to bring about and talk about topics that have an effect on our African American community. And we're talking about community today, the community of the brothers and the sisters, and our relationships to each other. And to share in this conversation with me has been my co-host for so many shows, Sister Traci Brooks. Sister Traci,
yes.
I know this has been on your mind. We have talked about this in private, about what we're seeing, the kind of images that are being placed out there between brothers and sisters, where the term player haters and to refer to sisters and players return to brothers, and the seemingly tension between the two groups. Now, are we making something out of nothing, or is there a definite underlying problem that we should address in dialogue?
Oh, I definitely wouldn't say that we're making something out of nothing. I think that we have to stand up and say that there's something going on here. And in recognizing that and acknowledging it, then we can move towards alleviating it. But if we sit back and say, well, we're just going through some things that don't really mean anything, then we'll get caught in this trap.
Trap? What kind of trap?
A trap that will really just pull us apart, because it's going on right now. We have a lot of tension pulling you, the black man, away from me, the black woman. Like you're saying, images. We're looking at images. We're listening to music. Our communities are being broken up. The statistics have shown for some years now that the majority of our households in the black community are run by black women, 80%. So there's obviously something going on, and it needs to be addressed. I'm thinking that we need to start with a healing program. Phil Johnson of the Organization for Black Unity always speaks on the fact that we need some healing as a people, because we have to look at our collective history and our past and see that we are still holding on to a lot of the
psychological problems.
Exactly.
That's hard for brothers and sisters to understand, because I've said that to people. I get these comments like, what are you saying, we're all crazy? Or there are psychological damages that a lot of things that we take as normal, everyday traditions and about how we look at women, or I hear brothers, when I'm in a group of them and they see a sister walk by, she's like, pray.
Yes.
Or I'm gonna get that, or all these kind of comments. Now, when I check them, they say, oh, I'm just kidding, but the fact is, their consciousness says that. Why? Instead of saying that's a nice sister, or she's a beautiful woman, it's about jumping on her, or doing these kind of comments that it seems to be the norm.
Right. Well, you also have to look at the fact that a lot, and we're going back to the images, a lot of what we're seeing now, as far as the black woman is concerned, is really putting us in a position to attract exactly that. Most of us are exposing just all of our body, putting on things that are going to attract that. But then we get upset when someone approaches us. And I remember this brother from some time ago that used to say, if you're dressed like you're selling something, why are you going to get upset when someone approaches you and asks you how much?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of the images going out there. We have a great tension. Like we were saying before, as far as the music is concerned, we have TLC and I Don't Want No Scrubs. We have, I don't even know the name of the group that sings the song Bills, Bills, Bills. Are you going to pay my bills? We had the brothers that came back to Scrubs and called the sisters pigeons.
I had a discussion about that one, about the bills of a sister. And I told her I didn't like the lyrics of the words. And she was saying, well, that's how, they were trying to explain how men are with some men, not all men. But I said, well, you got to look at that woman. How was that the type of person that she picked?
Yes.
Why is she complaining?
Yes.
What's that image saying to a young, 12 or 13-year-old who's just starting to bud with her feelings, her emotions, and her passions? And she doesn't have a male in the house, and we're talking about the single. So how do you attract that male? What are the images that you use to do it? Usually it's physical.
Yes. Yes.
And usually it's not who that person is, what that person has.
And what they can do for you.
And then when they can do it, because the human that person is not the person you want, because that's what you're going to get.
Right.
all that, then you start worrying about the material thing. That'll give me this, and that's not
Right.
And so the perpetuation, you know.
It's just a reflection of where we are right now, you know, and that speaks to the materialism that we've spoken on so many times, the value system,
The value
of the
system,
materialism.
yeah. And we could duck some more on that.
Sure, because you know we have someone talking about they don't want to be in a relationship because this person cannot supply them with material things. But the last time I checked, I wasn't interested in a relationship for the material wealth. I mean, that's not going to help me in many ways as far as my spiritual growth and cultivating my spirit. And when we are entering into relationships, it should be very foremost in our mind that we want to bring something to the relationship. We want to be able to cultivate the best in both of us. And it doesn't necessarily mean having material things. You know, and a lot of people get caught up in that. And that's been placed too on the man. And this is historical here we're looking at as far as our history here. And the man being stripped of his manhood and not being able to provide, quote unquote, yes, for the woman. And so we see it coming back time and time again because we're looking at someone else's images of what a man should be. And that comes into play many times. You know, I have a very close friend that, you know, pulled out of a relationship, I think because he felt that he couldn't be the things that he felt he should be.
A lot of men might not say it, but and it kind of confuses some women, but that is the key point.
Sure.
When they feel, especially with within the last 30 years in this society, a lot of women have had, you know, with their jobs, are more independent, you know, in a material sense.
Right.
Because in the spiritual and the love and the personal sense, they still need, just like
everyone
from
else.
time immemorial.
Exactly.
But in the independent sense of the material wealth, there's a lot of women who have their own jobs and who have this and who say, "Well, I don't need that," you know. But we males have been conditioned to believe in order to be a man, you have to supply that material.
That's right.
Now, if you come up on a woman that don't seem to need that, we a lot of times say, "Well, I don't know how to relate to her now.
Exactly.
I don't know how to be this man in this relationship because I can't offer you that. You don't need that." So I have been, like you said, as an African man, so demoralized personally because I surrounded myself with this material facade.
That's right.
You know, with my car, my suit, and all that. I don't like the person I am because I don't live up to the image of that European-based value. So if I don't have that material, I don't have anything else.
What do I have to give now?
Yeah,
and
that's how
that
we
goes
feel.
back. It goes back to what we discussed, and we have had so many discussions. But it goes back to what we have spoken on many times, as far as modelship.
And what's a man?
Modelship, and even in relationships, we don't. You know, in my circle of people, there aren't many people that I know that are married and in situations. You know, not to say I don't know any, but that's not true. But when I look across the board,
it's not the norm.
That's exactly right.
And that's a sad commentary. There are people who are together, but their relationship is in question.
Right.
You know, I still go out, you know, and I look at couples, you know, and even the people I know. If I didn't know them, I'd say, well, that's a loving couple.
Right.
But being that I might know them, but I know the turmoil that is going on in their relationship.
Right.
Now, outside the door, they, you know, they're huggy and I'm a couple of mine. But inside the door, they're not happy.
Right.
The communication is a problem. You know, we have lost that maleness and we lost that female aspect because we are wired differently.
Yes.
So we communicate and interpret differently.
Yes.
But we have nobody who could teach us how to do that.
Right. Well, I think that most of it has to come with a personal willingness to grow.
Oh, man.
We have to be willing to grow. And a lot of times we're in these relationships and situations where one person is growing and one is not.
Usually, yeah.
And then it comes to pass where if someone has a question, okay, am I willing to grow and take this a little further, or am I afraid to grow because I don't have a model as to what I'm supposed to be?
Yeah.
You know, and I've not had a platform where I, as a black man, can say, I am hurting, I am needing this, you know, this is what I want. We don't have that.
Because that is conditioned to be a wimp.
That's correct.
You know,
That's
or
correct.
that female, I guess it comes from that Greek mythology because they were always afraid of the female. That's why they kept them down in Greek society. And that Western kind of control of the female has been passed on. And we who lost our African, you know, matriarchal understanding of male-female relationship are utilizing that Western thought process. So, you know, I have to be in charge and control. So I got to seem in control. And to to be an insecure person, a person who is really insecure has to control the environment or try to.
Right.
And that's where we have the domination or maybe some of these abuses and all that.
Or even like a passive-aggressive type thing. It's not even where you actually exert that kind of behavior, but in some way, an undercut you do.
Yeah, in order to be a man, I have to be in control of my environment. I am a man.
Right.
But
see, our situation is different, though.
Exactly.
And so we have to understand that we are a separate people. We have a separate situation. We have a different history. And all of those things come into play. But, you know, when we look at black men and black women, we have to look at the lives that we are creating in our children. And when we come into these situations and we begat children, then that also plays right into the illness. Again, because if we as a man and woman are not showing our children a correct and healthy model of what
love is.
Exactly.
Love,
then we take that out the next
That's a good point. Let's stay there for a little bit, because I do believe that love comes in many forms. We use this nebulous term. Love is one of those nebulous things that has many different meanings to many different people. And what Malcolm has taught me is that you must take these nebulous terms in context to where you're at in order to understand it. It got to be where I am and what my knowledge is.
Right.
That's what love is going to be for me. You know, the love that I throw out there, I love you.
That's right.
You know, to that person will mean totally different thing.
Something else.
What does that mean to that person? And through that communication, I can adjust and say, well, your type of love and my type of love, well, is it going to match?
Right.
Okay, maybe you could teach me something about yourself and how to love better, you know, as a man, because we are mysteries to each other, right?
Still.
Always will be.
That's
in order for me to understand the woman, I got to look within myself and bring something out that taps into that feminine aspect. That's what that means by that feminine part side of truth. And you as a female got to look into that thing inside you and understand the male aspect that is hidden in us. That's what our ancestors understood, that there was that balance between male and female. That's what it's arc means, that's female force. There's a connection there. You know,
well, I think too, what helps sometimes with that communication, I think a lot of times when we're in relationships per se, we can't get the understanding because we're still locked into this person as my mate and not so much as just a person. And unfortunately in our society, when you become engaged in a relationship, you can no longer per se have, if I'm a woman, have male friends. And a lot of times that's what helps us to see some things that we would not see ordinarily just through the relationship itself. If I was sitting here discussing some things with you, as of right now, you're bringing something to me maybe that I hadn't thought of from the male perspective, that my mate maybe would not have brought to me because of our relationship, not allowing that to express itself. And so, you know, there's a lot of things that come to play, but as we look, you know, to our future and where we're heading as a people, one of the major things that we have to have is some healing. And once we heal and can come together as healthy spiritual beings, then it makes our journey forward that much easier and that much more focused and heightened.
Love to me had many different meanings, like I said earlier. And one of the meanings, not only does it help you find that mate, make you feel safe, it makes you feel renewed, but it also heals you. In order for me to say I had a person, a family member or a mate that ex, you know, and I have kids, and in order for me to deal with that child's mother, I have to fall in love with that mother. Now, it had to be the relation we had as husband and wife or whatever, boyfriend and girlfriend, but in order for me to deal with that child's mother, I have to love her again.
That's right.
Forget about, you want to forget about the hurts, but it heals that relationship if you're going to be a parent to that child. So that child.
And the key thing with that too is that we have to love ourselves.
First thing.
And that's why I talk about our personal history, because we have a collective history. And that all, of course, comes through me, our collective history, and then also my personal history. But we have to love ourselves first. And that's hard to do as black people when we have all these images that are being presented to us to make us cringe at the fact of being a black man or a black woman on this planet.
And which we perpetuate ourselves.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
And the thing that we think as being normal to be a black man in this country. Because I talk to young brothers, and, you know, For example, you mentioned something like libation, okay? And they don't understand the history behind it. And one of them, I asked them, you know, you familiar with libation? Oh yeah, that's what gangs do when brother die. You know, just that, you know, that personal not knowing that it's African tradition, which is a spiritual thing, calling upon the ancestors to look after you, calling their names. These are African traditions.
That's right.
But we got this ghetto mentality, and the only traditions, and we as adults are not teaching our kids the traditions.
Because we don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Because we associate it with the negativity that's being projected by the society at large.
That's right.
And you know, and it affects us as a personal in our personal history, and which affects our action day to day.
That's right. I agree with that. We have a lot of work to do, a lot of work to do. But it begins first of all with an individual and wanting to grow and wanting to be healed, and just taking a look at your consciousness and where you are and what motivates you and what brings forth certain things and how you're acting within the community and in what ways you are seeking to uplift yourself and then the community at large. And then from there, you know, once we're working on the individual, then we can step out and we're not concerned so much that now that I'm working on myself, I'm not concerned about you and what you're going to do for me materially. What I'm now seeking, because I'm not hiding behind all of these other images and things, that I'm now seeking someone else that is spiritually in tuned. You see?
Well, how do you get young? From a male perspective, males are not communicators.
Right.
You know, we're not naturally. We have the ability, don't get me, but we have been conditioned to keep things within ourselves, and that comes. I'm speaking as a black male.
Yes.
You know, I know that there are other males, no, but in our unique situation in America, we couldn't express our true feelings.
That's right.
If you look at any of the old movies or from the lynching, you couldn't, you know, these were men who were treated like boys, who were told in the society at large that they could not go here, do this, and do all the things the society said a man was. So you had to keep that frustration in you. And the only person that was close by was your woman, okay? And if you escape out of alcohol or you escape out of drugs or you escape with some other person or you take all that abuse to that woman, you know, at home. And from a lot of the early women back in 20, 30, 40 years ago, a lot of them sometimes accepted that. Yeah. You know, oh, he's just being a man. Or you know, he's all I have, so I'll let him do his dirt. You know, what if you as a woman, do you still agree with that, or you think we gotta, as a black woman, stand up to that type of behavior now in a correct way? You know,
right.
Is there a reason why?
I can address that from a personal standpoint in that I understand exactly what you're saying. What you're basically saying is that the pressures of society come down on the brother, and then the brother's acting out of those things in a way that is, again, unhealthy without actually addressing what is going on. Now, I can relate to that in due to past relationships and seeing that, yes, I had a brother that was dealing with all those things and maybe coming home or coming to me, and I could see that all this was going on. But I was understanding of our history. I was understanding of what goes on in our world and understanding these are some pressures going on. Not saying that there was any kind of behavior that was, you know, just crazy, because that's not acceptable either.
I agree.
But just saying, okay, well, the brother's a little quiet or a little tense tonight. I understand that he just came out of this situation. I know what goes on in the workforce. I know how this can, you know, affect a brother. And coming out of that, now, you know, I can't place a value attachment or judgment on how sisters dealt with things, you know, historically, because, you know, we work out of our situation at a time and what we feel is best. But there are a couple of things that I would like to touch on as far as what you mentioned, because you were saying as far as the brother even being able to express himself. There has to be a environment that allows that, and right now there is not. You know, for the most part, when brothers come together, and I get this from just being in the barbershop, or in the past when I would go to the barbershop and listening to how brothers interact. And it's so very surface, and everything is a joke, and, you know, we have to ride each other and this kind of thing.
Hiding the pain.
Yeah, exactly. Ways to hide the pain. And there has to be just an environment where brothers can come and sit down and talk to each other and say, well, bruh, you know, I've been dealing with this on the job, or, you know, my mate or my wife or whatever you want to call her has put this on me. What do you think about that? Because there's no place for the brother to do that.
You know, and I, in my African-centered awareness I tried to bring about those kind of conversations. And you'll be amazed at first I get that surface stuff, you know, but then when they see that I'm getting that serious underlying,
Yes.
and I talk to them in a communal way, then you say, yeah, man, yeah, you know,
It
yeah, I
opens
know
up.
what you're talking about. It's just like because that persona they put out just kind of disappears.
Yeah, it cracks down.
It cracks down.
Yes.
And then I see the whole body posture change.
Yes.
There seems to be a relaxed, well, I could talk.
Yeah, because
Even
we
though they
need
don't
it.
admit it. They don't admit it, they don't say it, but
Yes.
when we communicate, and I deliberately get into a conversation at when we're talking about a sister and stuff like that, and I come from, you know, not lambasting our sisters, I use that history, and
Right.
you know, I never thought about that, you know? But they start talking.
Yes. Well, I know personally what I have done over the past few months is I have a circle of sister friends. And what I have done and what we do is get together. And like we would take a Friday night and come together, maybe like 6 of us, and just try to heal ourselves and to grow spiritually and discuss many things, not necessarily relationship things, but these are just things that are maybe that we want to do, or growth spurts that we're going through, and being able to pull that energy together so that we can work on our healing, work on our spiritual growth, so that when we go back to our respective homes and families, that we feel a little bit renewed to get through the next step.
And that's a good idea, because a lot of times we males are not there for our women, not because we don't want to be, because we don't have the necessary tools and understanding sometimes that another female or group that can't. A lot of times the sisters depend a lot on us to understand that feminine aspect, and we don't have a clue. You know, we want to be that person for them, but we can't. You know, and sometimes the younger sisters or even some older don't understand that.
Right.
We speak in English, they say.
Yeah.
They're talking to us, but a lot of times it's over our head. And you know, and then our attention span, because we know once we know we can't fix it, our attention span wanders, which
also
makes
right.
the situation worse.
But you know, I think that we both want the same things.
Usually that's what happens.
I mean, as far as just a humanity type thing.
Yeah, right.
We want to be
Right.
loved, we want to have that safe haven, all those different things, and we want to express our humanity. And though we want the same things, I think the language comes in, and then our differences, you know, in male and female come to play.
How we interpret is different. You know, what is interpreted by the female? We can talk about the same topic, and it's something I've learned. Males interpret it based on our wiring, the way our expectations in the society. We interpret things a lot different. When you want to talk and just want to express your day, and it's just bad, it's, you know, I don't like the way the house look. You know, a male interpreted that something's wrong with me. See, because I'm supposed to make you happy, right? I'm supposed to make the world around you happy, quote, quote.
Okay.
But when I hear this complaining, what I interpret as complaining,
complaining.
you're just wanting to get it out your system.
Yeah, had nothing to do with you.
But you're talking to me, all right? And I'm the male.
Yes.
But I'm interpreting it as she's saying something's wrong with me. I'm not making her happy. So I interpret it totally different. So my response might be, some guys might snap, or they might, you know, take it the wrong way, and then you say, well, why? He doesn't listen.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he's listening, but it's just his
Right.
interpretation. And there's a lot of good men out there. It's just that we don't understand how we're wired.
Yeah.
We don't understand that the communication, which is one of the most important things, because that's expressing what's inside me, we just have to understand each other's language.
That's right.
And I try to use that word language, like if I'm speaking French, you're speaking Chinese. You see, I understand that, and I'll listen to those words and look it up and do the research of what you really mean. We don't do that.
Sometimes you still miss the basic essence.
A lot of
it.
times we don't know. We don't do that as male or female, especially we speak in the English, but we interpret it totally different.
I think also, you know, one thing that comes that I pick up on what you were saying, as far as people thinking that we have to make someone else happy.
Oh, that's a bad thing.
No one. That's a large burden to take on. You cannot make anyone happy.
And that's a misnomer
Yes, it
of
is.
what this culture. That's what the
right.
images and the magazines
The soap operas.
and the soap operas show.
You know.
The man is supposed to make the woman happy somehow by doing this.
You'll never win. You will never win if you're trying to make someone happy. That person has to be happy
within
and at
themselves.
peace within themselves.
Yeah,
And from
exactly.
there, there can be a happiness with them together, but no one can make someone happy. That just is not going to happen. And so, you know, we have to look at that also. Anytime you're entering into a relationship, trying to either one, have someone make you happy, or two, make someone else happy, you're in for a no-win situation.
But that's what's being taught.
Yes.
That's why I love to mentor young brothers, talk to them, because they have to have these life skills. There's no class. I didn't take any class. I went to the School of Hard Knocks. And the School of Hard Knocks is not the way to really learn. A lot of people say, like, I don't need to have knowledge of being black, because I am black, experienced. Hey, a tree is a tree, but it doesn't know it's a tree.
That's right.
Okay, in order to know what a black man is, you got to have knowledge of what it means to be a black man.
And you have to have the example, right?
Example. You know, just being doesn't make you.
That's right.
Epistemology, ontology. You have to have knowledge of it. And if nobody teaches you how to be a man, you might come to a conclusion down the road, but you're going to have in your wake a lot of damage.
Yeah, and then too, you have to look at the dominant society and what is actually being put out there as what the man is, or what the woman is, or what the black relationship is, or how the woman is to deal with these brothers. And it pains me greatly to see where we are at this point in time, because even in the midst of those that are African-centered per se, we're still having the situation and the problems, and if you want to call them problems, it's a challenge, I should say.
Yeah, like Malawana Karenga said, we got to get away from saying problems. Because problems mean we have to sit here and just think about it. If it's a challenge, then it means action.
You have
must
to act
apply.
upon it. Yeah.
And we have to apply to those problems. There's a lot of self-help books out there, but I don't feel there's anything that's African-centered that really address our unique situation. We tried to, it's hard for people to understand that there was two Americas, okay? The Civil Rights Bill, quote, that supposedly gave us certain rights was only 30 years ago, quote, and I put real quote. So for over 100 and something years, nearly 200 years, there was two Americas, one socially isolated America, which black people and also Native people lived under, which we had our own traditions, which were influenced by the hegemony of the community at large, the major community, and it had a great effect on us psychologically.
That's right. And we're still carrying the psychological baggage.
Of course.
We are still doing it. And when people always want to say, well, that was in the past, we don't need to talk about it. We have to, because understanding of that allows us an even better understanding of what is going on today and what we have to do to make some changes within, and then also ultimately without, within the community.
There are images that we are getting right now that shows that there is no problem. Everything is wine and rosy. Color doesn't mean anything, and all these kind of images that are detrimental to us, because as there is, as W.B. Du Bois said, there is a problem with the color, and color is part of who we are as black people, African people. We should not let that, and our relationship as a black man and a black woman is part of that color thing and that tradition.
That's going to be one of our greater challenges as we move ahead in this path called life, as far as getting to the point where we are in a healthy state. And there's no utopia where there's going to be, challenge-free situations.
But as usual, we're going to have to take this to the next show, and it's going to be a part 2 to this communication. So get your other brothers and your sisters, and check this show out. And we just want some dialogue. And until next week, we want to say, just think about what we say. Hotep. Hotep.